I stood dead center in the gleaming clubhouse of Oakwood Estates, gripping the strap of my old canvas tote like it was the only thing keeping me from evaporating under the fluorescent lights. The air smelled of fresh coffee and Karen Whitaker's signature Chanel, that cloying cloud she sprayed like holy water before every HOA meeting. Around me, the select residents shifted in their designer sandals, pretending to study the agenda while really watching the show. Karen tilted her perfectly highlighted head, voice dripping with that fake sweet concern she reserved for the less fortunate. The special assessment for our bonding retreat is only $14.50 per household. Addison, if you cannot afford it, stay behind. The words landed like a slap. $14.50. I knew the number because I had quietly paid 3 extra assessments last year when the pool filter mysteriously broke right after Karen's grandson's birthday party. My name is Addison Perry, and in this picture-perfect gated community outside Charleston, I looked exactly like what Karen wanted everyone to see, the quiet single woman in the gray coat, the one whose lawn was always exactly 3 inches but never quite vibrant enough. The one who never complained when the fines for her non-compliant mailbox post arrived like clockwork. Beside Karen stood Sloan Maddox, 6 months pregnant and glowing like she'd been airbrushed. Sloan was the unofficial co-chair of the Welcome Committee, which really meant she decided whose welcome baskets got delivered and whose got lost. Her husband Brent leaned against the podium, scrolling on his phone, linen blazer perfectly rumpled. A few other board favorites, Jessica and Todd Tate, nodded along, sipping the complimentary mimosas Karen had generously provided from the HOA discretionary fund. Karen circled Sloan like a mother hen, fluffing a non-existent wrinkle on her cream maxi dress. Chin up, darling. The lighting in here is tragic. We need proper photos for the retreat album. She snapped a picture, frowned, adjusted the angle. Much better. Then her gaze slid to me, sweeping down my second-hand coat and scuffed sneakers with the precision of a laser scanner. Addison, darling, she continued, loud enough for the entire room to hear. We're all flying business class to Maui. There's no line for us. She paused, letting the silence stretch like a rubber band about to snap. However, I reviewed the final budget this morning. The upgrades were significant. $14.50 each. I assumed you had made your own arrangements. Surely you didn't expect the association to cover a ticket of that magnitude for you. You know how tight things are with a baby coming. The air left the room. Jessica and Todd exchanged awkward glances but didn't look away. They never did. Sloan let out a tinkling laugh, manicured hand over her mouth. Oh, Karen, stop it. You're embarrassing her. I'm being practical, Karen corrected, turning to the group with a smile that could cut glass. Addison, if you cannot afford it, stay behind. It's not a tragedy. Someone needs to watch the neighborhood in case of an emergency. And honestly, you'd probably be happier here. She gestured vaguely at my outfit. You don't exactly scream resort wear, do you? My knuckles whitened on the bag strap. I had spent the last 2 weeks coordinating the dog sitters for half the board, confirming limo service to the airport, and double-checking Pacific weather patterns, all because my little logistic side gig had somehow become the unpaid HOA travel department. Karen smiled that small, cold smile. So, I'm not going. Not unless you have $14.50 to hand over to the agent right now. She turned to Todd and Jessica, face brightening instantly. But you two, you're all set. I handled everything. Treats on us for being such good friends to the community. The humiliation pressed against my ribs like a physical weight. She was paying for the Tates. She was paying for the cousins on the board. But for the woman who had driven her to 3 dermatologist appointments last month, who had balanced the HOA books when the treasurer forgot, she had nothing but a bill I supposedly couldn't pay. Actually, Karen added as an afterthought, eyeing the mountain of designer luggage. Since you're here, Addison, Be a dear and help Brent get these bags to the curb. You know how his back gets. Consider it your contribution. You might not be flying, but you can still be useful, like a baggage handler. It suits you. Sloan laughed again. Karen, that's terrible. But she didn't stop laughing. The group began to move, flowing around me like water around a rock. I stood alone on the polished tile while they rolled their silent wheel suitcases toward the waiting shuttles that would take them to Charleston International. People stared. Pity, amusement, curiosity. A woman with a toddler quickly looked away. I turned to leave. One step, two, and my phone buzzed. Once, twice, triple pulse. High priority alert. I pulled it out. Bank notification. Pending transaction. Global Air Travel Services. Amount, $9,540. I looked up. Karen was still by the podium, fingers flying across her phone screen, tip of her tongue poking out in concentration. She hit confirm, slipped the phone into her designer bag, and trotted after the group with a satisfied bounce. She had just told the entire HOA I was too poor to join their luxury retreat. She had shamed me in front of every neighbor who mattered. And 30 seconds later, she had charged the whole thing. Business class seats, priority boarding, extra baggage, cancel for any reason insurance to my card, my savings, my operational capital, my everything. Something inside me clicked shut like a heavy steel door. The humiliation evaporated. In its place came cold, crystalline clarity. They wanted me to stay behind? Fine. I would stay behind. And from down here, I was going to pull the sky down on top of them. The heat coming off the asphalt outside the clubhouse felt different. Thick with jet fuel anticipation and the faint scent of freshly mowed lawns that never quite met Karen's 3-inch standard. I walked past the confused neighbors still milling about, past the shuttles already pulling away, and turned right toward the service road that led away from the polished gates of Oakwood Estates. Most people thought I was heading to my beat-up sedan to cry. They had no idea I was walking toward my office. Because while Karen Whitaker knew how to spend $9,540 in 10 seconds, she had absolutely no clue that the baggage handler she just mocked owned Northglass Logistics, the firm that quietly ran the billing, compliance, and event systems for half the HOAs on the East Coast, including hers. My sneakers scuffed the pavement in a rhythm I knew by heart. I had walked this path every day for 10 years, wearing practical shoes because you don't wear Louis Vuitton through a freight zone. Karen only saw what she wanted to see, the struggling single woman who could be fined into submission. She never saw the empire I had built behind the peeling pain of Building 4B. I tapped my plain gray lanyard at the security gate. Beep. Green light. The turnstile clunked open. Ahead stood the corrugated metal shell that looked like it hadn't been touched since 1995. Ugly. Industrial. Perfect. Inside, the climate-controlled sanctuary hummed with silent efficiency. Rows of servers glowed behind glass. Monitors displayed real-time flight paths, weather overlays, and HOA assessment ledgers. My staff nodded respectfully. They didn't care about my shoes. They cared about my code. Afternoon. Addison, David called from his station. Thought you were headed to Maui. Change of plans, I said. Voice steady. Maui's too expensive. He laughed, thinking it was a joke. I shut the door to my glass-walled office, threw my bag on the sleek black desk, and sat down. This was my kingdom. Here I was director. 5 miles away at the airport, I was still the HOA peasant. I opened the banking app. The details burned in. 4 passengers, no. 5. Sloan, Brent, Karen, Jessica, Todd. Business class. Lie flat seats. Maximum insurance. The works. Karen had even sprung for the cancel for any reason add-on with my money. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. How? For years ago, she had called me hysterical from Paris, wallet stolen, hotel, threatening eviction. Half asleep and worried. I gave her my primary card number for the emergency. I never revoked it. Foolish trust. She had banked on my silence. She had banked on the quiet daughter, quiet homeowner, who had bailed out the association for a decade without complaint. I hovered over the authorized user list. Marjorie Waite, Karen Whitaker. The parasite was legally attached to my assets. Remove authorized user. Are you sure? This will immediately deactivate the card and decline any pending transactions. I press confirm. Green check mark. Done. The cord was cut, but I wasn't finished. I picked up the secure line. Platinum desk. This is Sarah. Sarah. Addison Perry. Security code Alpha 9 Victor. I need to report unauthorized transactions and stop a pending payment involving global air travel services. Of course, MS. Perry. I see the charge, 9540. Dispute it. I don't want to dispute it, I said, staring at the runway monitors. I want to scorch the earth it stands on. Flag it as fraud. Merchant block on global air. Decline code, stolen instrument. Done. Anything else? Yes. Prepare to freeze everything. We're going to have a very busy afternoon. I hung up. The silence was absolute, the silence before a storm. I opened a thick black binder labeled Oakwood Ledger. Every dollar I had quietly funneled into this community for years. The pool repairs, the emergency tree removal after Karen's wind event, the storage unit for her Christmas decorations that somehow never got billed back. $24,000 last fiscal year alone. And today, she had taken another bite, this time including the Tates, so she could look generous in front of the neighbors. A dark laugh escaped my throat. Absurd. Impressive in its cruelty. I logged into the bill pay portal. Select all recurring payments linked to any Whitaker or Maddox name. Car insurance. Cell phones. Country club dues. Streaming services. The emergency loan I had floated Brent when he gambled away their down payment. Cancel. Warning. Late fees. Repossession. Service interruption. Let them repossess it all. I clicked yes. Status. Inactive. 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 The lights were turning off room by room in their perfect little lives. But I needed more ammunition. I printed 12 months of statements. Circled every sushi dinner. Every designer handbag disguised as baby essentials. Every tank of premium gas. Forensic accounting. When they came screaming, I wouldn't argue feelings. I would argue numbers. My phone stayed face up on the desk. No calls yet. They were still in the lounge. Still oblivious. Still toasting to Karen's generosity with my money. I powered it off. Silence. On the wall monitor, the departure board for UA 492 to Maui flipped to boarding. I zoomed in on the gate camera feed, my system legally accessed for VIP logistics. There they were. Karen at the front of the priority lane. Sloan live streaming. Brent board. The Tate smug. I leaned back. Fingers interlaced behind my head. Have a nice flight. I whispered to the empty room. The gate agent scanned the first boarding pass. The machine blared a double beep of rejection. Karen frowned, assuming a glitch. She tried again. The agent typed, looked up, spoke words I couldn't hear but knew by heart. Tickets have been voided due to payment fraud. If you want to board, you'll need to pay now. Karen's arm flew up in indignation. This is ridiculous. We're business class. Check it again. Sloan lowered her phone, smile collapsing. The line behind them grew. Business travelers checked watches. Families shifted strollers. Pressure built exactly as I had engineered. My personal phone began vibrating like a trapped insect. Mom, wait. Karen. Missed call. Missed call. Missed call. I let it dance across the desk. The agent gestured to the side. Step aside. Ma'am, you're blocking the flow. Karen planted her feet. She never stepped aside for anyone. She dug into her purse, produced my card with a flourish, and thrust it forward as if the universe owed her compliance. The agent swiped. Transaction attempt, $9,540. Response, hard decline. Stolen instrument. Karen froze. The color drained from her face. Stolen. She had used it for years. She thought she owned it. She turned to Sloan. Sloan fumbled for her own maxed-out card, the one I used to cover every month. Swiped. Declined. Insufficient funds. Over limit. Brent took 2 steps back, suddenly on an urgent business call. The Tates shook their heads. Sorry, Karen. We can't. The dam broke. Karen slammed her hand on the counter and screamed loud enough for the entire terminal to hear. This is Addison Perry's card. Why is it declined? She must have done this. She had just announced to every neighbor, every stranger, every phone already recording that the mighty HOA president was traveling on the quiet homeowner's dime. She had admitted she wasn't paying. She had admitted she was using me. Sloan covered her face, shoulders shaking with ugly sobs. The Karen at the airport video was being born in real time. My phone buzzed with a text from airport security contact Mike. Hey boss, your HOA lady is screaming that her daughter, neighbor, stole her money. Making quite the scene. I smiled, thin and cold. I opened the Perry family, Oakwood HOA group chat they used to order me around. Typed one message. You said I had no money. You said if I couldn't afford it, I should stay behind. So I removed my money from your pockets. If it's not your money, don't buy it. Sent. I watched the camera feed. They all looked down at their phones simultaneously. Karen's head snapped up, scanning the terminal as if I were hiding behind a potted palm. For the first time, she looked small. The grandeur was gone. She was just a woman with a declined card and luggage she couldn't afford. Sloan slid down the wall. Cream dress soaking up airport dust. Jessica and Todd were already walking away, distancing themselves from the disaster. Karen's next text arrived in all caps. You ungrateful brat. You embarrassed us in front of everyone. Fix this now, or don't ever call me president again. Years ago, the threat would have sent me scrambling. Today, it bounced off the steel door I had closed in the terminal. I left the phone on the desk and turned back to the monitors. The gate agent closed the jetway door. The plane was leaving without them. The chaos at gate C4 was now just data points turning red on my screen. I had something better than being there in person. I had the unfiltered view, but I wasn't finished. I opened the internal line to my finance department. Marcus, effective immediately, any invoice, expense report, or reimbursement request containing Whitaker or Maddox gets flagged for my personal approval. Nothing automatic. Not even a paperclip. Got it, boss. Locking it down. The printer spat out page after page of circled transactions. I clamped them into a fresh folder and labeled it in bold black, receipts. Outside, the evening sky bruised purple. Runway lights flickered on. Then a red alert flashed across the main security monitor. Unauthorized access attempt. Source, external VPN. Target, admin root pricing engine. Timestamp now. I hit the intercom. Sarah, I see it. Someone's brute forcing. IP coming from the airport Marriott Wi-Fi. I looked at Karen's last text. We are at a hotel near the airport. A cold smile touched my lips. While she was texting sweet nothings to distract me, Brent was trying to break into my system one last time to steal the only thing they had left to sell. Let them try. Sarah, do not block it yet. Let him think the door is creaking open. I want to see exactly how greedy he is. The red light pulsed like a heartbeat. Someone was knocking in the dark. They had no idea the monster on the other side was holding the key. I turned to my team in the war room. Veronica, general counsel, typed furiously. Elias, forensic accountant. organized the paper trail. Sarah's fingers flew across the keyboard. He's using a brute force script, I said. Crude, loud, desperate. We're going to sandbox him. Spin up a mirror directory. Make it look like the root admin folder. Sarah nodded. Honeypot. Title it Fair Engine Source V4. Load it with investor pitch deck, Q3, and algorithm schematics, pixel beacon. Aggressive watermarking. If he downloads, every device that opens it will ping us forever. Done. Screen capture. Keystroke logging. Geolocation. I turned to Veronica. This moves from HOA dispute to industrial espionage. If he downloads, we hand the FBI a closed case. I sent one careful text to Brent. Mom, Karen, says you're all at the hotel. If you want to talk about the money and the cards, come to my office. We can work something out. His reply came fast. You think you can cut us off? I know about the North Glass valuation. I'll drag you down with me if you don't fix this. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Have the checkbook ready. He thought he had leverage. He thought he was playing checkers. I had already set the board on fire. Marcus radioed. Mr. Maddox arriving at the main gate. Aggressive. Want him help? No. Let him in. Treat him like a VIP. Escort him to conference room B, the glass one. Network jack patch straight into the honeypot. I smoothed my gray coat and walked to the conference room alone. I placed the black binder and red folder on the table. Brent shoved the glass door open so hard it rattled. Linen blazer rumpled. Eyes wild. You think you're smart? He spat. You embarrassed us and just walked away. I didn't stand. I didn't flinch. Hello, Brent. Please sit. We have a lot of accounting to do. He slammed his laptop down and reached for the Ethernet cable. The moment he plugged in, Sarah's screen flashed. Connection established. Target in the honeypot. I smiled. Go ahead, Brent. Take it. 20 minutes later, I pulled my sedan into the portico of the airport Marriott. The lobby was freezing, but the heat of tension in Suite 412 was suffocating. They were all there. Karen in an armchair, deposed queen holding white wine. Sloane curled on the sofa, face blotchy. Brent pacing, sleeves rolled up. You finally decided to show up, Karen snapped. Voice brittle. Do you have any idea what you've done to the community? Sloane looked up, red eyes. My friends left. Jessica and Todd took an Uber. They said they were humiliated. They said they didn't know we were charity cases. I closed the door, kept the exit clear. We're going to have one conversation. I'll lay out the facts. If anyone interrupts, screams, or lies, I walk out. Next time you see me, it'll be in a courtroom. Karen rose. Don't you dare threaten. Sit down. My voice cracked like a whip. She sat, shocked. I placed the binder on a coffee table. You said I was selfish. You said I had money and didn't share. You said I embarrassed the association. I flipped to the circled transactions. In the last 5 years, I have transferred $142,000 to support this neighborhood. Your car payments. Sloane. Brent's failed businesses. Karen's country club dues. Sloane blinked. Mom said you just helped with little things. Mom lied. I pushed the paper toward her. But today, I continued. We're talking about the 9540. Karen told me the assessment was $1,450 each to make me feel small. But the math only works for 4 people. There were 5 tickets on that invoice. I pointed. Jessica Tate. Todd Tate. Sloane turned to Karen. You paid for them? You told me they insisted on coming. Karen took a large sip of wine. It was an investment. Todd is in real estate. Good networking for Brent. Addison can afford it. She runs a company. So you stole from your neighbor to impress strangers, I summarized. It's not stealing, Karen snapped. It's community resources. I turned to Brent. Let's talk resources. Sloane, remember when you called crying because the IRS had frozen accounts and you were losing the house? You asked for $50,000. I gave it. Brent said he paid the IRS. The next day, 45,000 went to Lux Escape Travel. 3 days later, a 10-day stay at the Four Seasons Bora Bora, single ticket. Sloan went still. He said he had to meet investors in Los Angeles. He was in Bora Bora. Alone. Brent's face turned violent red. It was stress relief. You stole from my sister, my neighbor, and let your pregnant wife believe she was homeless while you drank cocktails on a beach. Sloan stood, unsteady. Is it true? It's complicated, Brent yelled. The data doesn't lie, I said. But you do. I opened the red folder. I have the credit line you opened in my name, the forged loan agreement, the gambling logs. And Karen, you knew, didn't you? But as long as he drove the right car, you didn't care where the money came from. Karen set her glass down hard enough to crack the table. You are a vicious, cold-hearted girl. You come here to destroy the community. For what? Money? You have plenty. Why are you so greedy? It's not about the money, I said. It's about the fact that you looked me in the eye at the meeting and told me to stay behind because I wasn't good enough for your picture. Well, look at the picture now. Karen, it's ugly. And I'm the only one holding the camera. Brent lunged across the table. You think you can ruin me? I'll sue you for defamation. I'll tell everyone you cooked the books. You'll spend the next 10 years in court. I didn't blink. Go ahead and sue. But remember, civil court is public record, and so is criminal court. Criminal? Brent laughed nervously. You wouldn't dare. We're community. Sloan stared out the window, no longer defending him. I'm filing the police report tomorrow morning, I said. Identity theft, wire fraud, forgery. My lawyer has the package ready for the district attorney. Karen screamed. You can't do that to your neighbor. Think of the baby. I want my neighbor's child to have a father who doesn't steal her future to play fantasy football. I picked up my folder. I'm done. The cards are canceled. The account's frozen. The Bank of Addison is closed permanently. Figure it out. I turned toward the door. Addison, please, Karen cried, voice shifting to desperate. You can't leave us here. We can't pay for this hotel. We don't have a ride home. We're your community. I stopped, hand on the knob. Do you remember what you said to me at the meeting when I was standing there with my bag? Karen stared, tears ruining her makeup. You said, if you cannot afford it, stay behind. I opened the door. I suggest you call an Uber, if you can find a car that works. The door clicked shut behind me, muffling Karen's sobs. In the hallway, Brent waited, 10 feet away, hands in pockets, pure hatred in his eyes. You think you won? It's over. Brent, he stepped closer. You forgot something. I lived in your house for 3 months during renovations. I use your Wi-Fi. I know things. The elevator dinged. I step inside. If you touch my company, I will bury you. He smiled. Reckless. You better check your servers. Director Perry. Because tonight is going to be a very long night. The doors closed. Back in the war room at 2:58 a.m., the red pixel lit up. Brent in the south parking lot. High gain antenna. Brute force. Sarah narrated, he's in the honeypot. Going straight for the Fair Engine source folder, downloading investor pitch deck Q3 80%, he stopped. He's searching client list global. He wants to sell the contacts to Red Wing. System load climbed. CPU 90%. Latency spiking. I ordered lockdown protocol. Trap his session in a read-only void. The detective's cruisers swept in silently. Officers pulled Bryn out while he frantically tried to wipe the laptop. Sarah leaned back with a razor smile. He just spent 60 seconds deleting a hologram. The real evidence is encrypted on 3 continents. At 3:15 a.m., Brent was escorted into the glass conference room. Shirt torn, eyes wild with frantic triumph. You were too slow. I saw the deletion confirmation. It's gone. Now call off your dogs and transfer 50 grand, or I tell the press your system is so weak a gambling addict cracked it in 10 minutes. I pressed the remote. The 8K wall screen flickered to life, screen recording of his own laptop. side by side with parking lot footage, time-stamped perfectly. Then the original $9,540 invoice with 5 names. Then the logs, file accessed. Status, stolen. You attempted to steal trade secrets valued at over $10 million, I said. That's federal crime. Brent lunged. You set me up. The doors burst open. Charleston PD and FBI cybercrimes marched in. Handcuffs clicked. You have the right to remain silent. Karen lunged at me, nails digging into my sleeve. Stop them. Think of the community. You're destroying everything. I peeled her fingers off gently. I'm not destroying the community. Karen, I'm saving it from a parasite. You taught me where my heart belongs, right there in the clubhouse when you told me to stay behind. The agents dragged Brent away. Karen ran after them, chasing the wreckage of her illusions. I stood alone as the sun rose, streaming through the skylights onto the North Glass logo. Employees filtered in, scanning badges, grabbing coffee, talking about their weekends. They didn't know about the drama. They just knew the system was running and paychecks would clear. I looked down at my old sneakers, comfortable, practical, standing on my own floor. I wasn't the baggage handler anymore. I wasn't the ATM. I wasn't the disappointment. I walked toward the elevators, ready to start the day. This time, no one was going to swipe a card in my name. This time, I was flying the plane. Thank you for listening to this HOA Karen story. It was a wild ride from the clubhouse meeting to the server room, and I hope you felt that sweet justice served cold. Drop a comment. Where are you listening from today? If you loved seeing the quiet homeowner take back her power, hit like, subscribe, and smash the notification bell. Never underestimate the ones who stay silent. See you in the next neighborhood nightmare.